Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you very much for joining me for another amazing session of the Daily African Proverbs. We are live on YouTube, and the link to the YouTube live stream is at the top of the Clubhouse room. And I have an amazing guest here with me today. I'm here with Aminata Danioko, and Aminata is an amazing supporter of the work I do on Clubhouse, of course with the Daily African Proverbs. But we started interacting more when I started hosting a room every Tuesday at 10 a.m. on Clubhouse titled Demystifying Crypto in Africa. You know, that's where I began to learn about her expertise. I began to learn that she's actually from Mali, but I also learned that she's a data scientist and she's also an RPA developer. I don't know what an RPA developer is. I'm going to learn that today. But Aminata, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Simon. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, I'm also really grateful that you made the time to join me today. And today we're actually discussing a Nigerian proverb, and the proverb says that a person who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat. A person who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat. Aminata, when you see this proverb or when you hear it, what is it that comes to your mind? I would love for us to start with just you diving into this and sharing your perspectives around it.
Okay, so when I see this proverb of a person who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat, in my opinion, I can think of this as, if there's a saying in the USA, they say, oh, if it's not broke, then don't fix it. Then you shouldn't position yourself in life in any way if there's no problem with what you're dealing with. So when I see things like this, it makes very clear sense to me, because sometimes people would always want to shoot for perfection, or they want to shoot for things that really do not align with them. So they constantly figure out ways on how to insert themselves in a situation or a problem, or in something that can give them value or that can benefit their own skills and qualities, wherever that case may be. So when I see things like this, I just say to myself, okay, this is clearly not something for you. So how about you focus on yourself, And I love to use this saying from Robert Kiyosaki: people need to learn how to mind their own business. So if there's things going on in life and it does not concern you, then you need to focus on you and focus on your own business and continue to achieve that goal. So when I see things like this, it always, gives me that saying from the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, when he says, mind your own business. Because if you focus on the negative, you focus on things that don't benefit you, how are you growing? How are you going to strengthen what you already have? So that's my opinion on this proverb.
I like that. And, with the era of social media, it's very hard for people to focus on their own business. People easily get drawn into deep conversations about things that don't concern them, or things that will not help them at all, So I really appreciate that. I want to welcome everyone who is joining us on Clubhouse. Thank you very, very much. I want to encourage you to ping in 3 to 5 people to join us for today's amazing conversation. And also, I want to encourage you to tap the link at the top of the room and join us on YouTube, where we are live streaming this conversation. But also, if you're joining us on YouTube, thank you so much. I see that Sister Aduoa is with us on YouTube. Thank you very much, for your continued support. And Sister Aduoa is saying here, I see this as a matter of choice The floor is always available, but I make the mat and carry it with me. Nice, nice. She also says, welcome, Aminata. Now we are going to continue on with our conversation, Aminata. And one of the things I always ask the guests of the African Father in America podcast is, a story from your childhood. Maybe around the time when you are 8 to 12, or any time that you want to share with us that still inspires you today. And I also always share this story that when I was 8 years old, I was sharing with you before we went live, that when I was 8 years old, my mother gave me a bicycle, and the bicycle, I remember it vividly. It had a small, tiny wheel at the front and a big wheel at the back, and it had, carriers for carrying a lot of luggage, And every morning before I went to school, my job was to supply milk and bread in our entire neighborhood, And so I had my own section of our neighborhood, and we had other people with bicycles that also, supplied milk and bread for my mother around our neighborhood. And so this was, for me, this is what wakes me up in the morning. For example, this is a morning show. It's 6 a.m. show. And so I have to wake up at 4 a.m. and it's normal for me. But it's very unusual for many people. Sometimes I have to negotiate with guests that you have to wake up to be a guest on this show. So I want you to share with us a similar story, something that drives you today as a leader that you are becoming, or as a leader that you have become.
Oh, absolutely, Simon. So I would say from the age of 8 years old up until I was 12, during that time, I was a very shy girl. I never liked to speak with people. I always liked to keep to myself. My siblings, they were my friends. My family, I can always go to them and be myself. Because I'm going to be honest, when I was young, I got bullied a lot because I was, the African girl with the difficult name. So I got bullied a lot. So I just always kept to myself, and I never wanted to interact with people. And I think because I suffered from that as a young child, I realized as I got older, I always wanted to have a career or a dream to never interact with people. I always wanted to have this profession, so when I studied math in college and then I had to transition into the technology space, I said, oh, I love this because I can work on a computer and never speak to a human being. So I think just having that mindset, it really kind of, it was good because I was able to accomplish my work, but at the same time, my communication skills were very, very poor because I didn't know how to meet with people. I didn't know how to network. I did not know how to sell myself. I didn't know how to basically, grow a network of people so that way I can collaborate with others, learn from other people and things like that. So I think throughout my life, I was always the shy girl. I never liked confrontation. I was so quiet to myself. But then as life goes on, especially in college, I spent 7 years in university getting 2 degrees there. And I think just being challenged by my professors, my friends, my classmates, and people that I work with, it really gave me the opportunity to challenge myself, to increase my strengths, and to just not really worry about what anyone thinks of me. Because, when you worry about what people think of you, you're not really growing. You're not getting anywhere because you're always concerned about what this person thinks, what that person thinks. You focus on you, and then that's how you grow as a person. And not only school, but I think life really taught me a big lesson once I got into the workforce, because I really had to learn how to communicate very thoroughly and effectively, even in my work now, because I work as a manager, but I have no managerial experience. I practiced and I taught myself how to speak with people, how to explain things in a very effective manner. So I think because I've experienced all of that, I was able to accomplish what I have today.
Wow, Aminata, I'm really, really inspired by even how passionately you speak, even right now. And, when we are on Clubhouse, whenever I've heard you speak on audio, you can't see the passion. But now I can completely relate to the journey that you shared with us. And it's not easy. I've also had a few other African friends who grew up in the US from their childhood. I'm very lucky. I moved to the US when I was 26, So I already had an idea, a few ideas about life. So I was lucky I wasn't bullied, similar to some of my friends like you who went through a very difficult time, so that some of us would just come and find it easier. So thank you for carrying that burden for us. But now I want us to go a little bit into your career. You spoke a little about it, but I want you to just imagine you're talking to a group of girls in Mali, a group of girls in Kenya. You're traveling across the continent talking to them about the work that you're doing as a data scientist and as a RPA developer, and they want to know some of your accomplishments and things that excite you about your work now and also in the future. What would you tell them?
Oh, absolutely. So for my career now, I would say, so as a data scientist, data scientist is it's like a 3-domain title. Like, a lot of people don't understand that. So many data scientists could either be software engineers, machine learning engineer. But for me, in my role, I work with large amounts of data from different sizes, and I do a lot of data cleaning. That's majority, like 60% of my day-to-day responsibilities is just cleaning data, and then just, identifying patterns for internal and external consumers that I have within my organization. So it can be very challenging sometimes because I have to explain data to people that have no type of technical background, or that they just don't even understand data. They just want numbers. They only want to see results. So in this position, data science, you have to really educate yourself on, there's a lot of math involved. I would say a lot of statistical sampling. Statistics is very heavy. There's some coding, and I do some code in my job now because it's a managerial position. I really don't, but it's required for me to do so. And just being able to tell a story within any data set that I work on. Because, if I cannot explain to a financial institution or to the examiners that I work with, then it's like, okay, well, I'm confused and this is her job. So if I don't understand it, then how can I even accomplish what I need to get done in my role? So I think in that my data science field, that's my day-to-day responsibilities. But most data scientists, it depends on I would say, the institution that they work in. So they can be data scientists in insurance, consulting, in the tech space, media, music, everywhere, entertainment. They have different sectors of what they work on. But I would say the job is the same because, data science is not just one domain. There's so many factors to. I would say for RPA, that actually stands for Robotic Process Automation Developer. So I had no idea that ever in my life I would ever learn how to. So basically, RPA is basically I work with a lot of software robots as well on the side. So I learned this field when I worked as a fellow for a company called Cognizant Consulting. So in that fellowship, I learned the C# language, and then eventually I had to learn RPA. And RPA is just a tool that you use to control software robots. You create a workflow, and then the robot is able to complete repetitive tasks over and over again at a very efficient time. So basically, let's say if I have a bookkeeper or I have to do a lot of data entry, if I have a human being perform that task, it might take them several hours to complete it. But if I just create a workflow and then I have the robot execute that process, it can finish it in probably less than 5 minutes or so, depending on the workload. So RPA, it was very interesting to me because, I was just getting into it. I really wanted to do data engineering, but they put me in the RPA course. And I'm very fortunate for that because I fell in love with Microsoft more. It only operates on a Windows machine, so it is not compatible with iOS. But RPA was a good experience for me because I learned, more about artificial intelligence. It's not really the same as working with software robots, but it's kind of similar to artificial intelligence and so forth. So if I am in Mali now and I talk about data science and RPA, I would definitely give the advice to many, many young girls, especially because I think I'm a big advocate for women in tech. So I would definitely persuade them to never give up, to challenge themselves. You're going to have to take risk, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I had to go out by myself and teach myself all of this. So if I'm learning in the classroom, I go home and I do more, and I do more quizzes just so I can better my skills. So I think being consistent and having the discipline is the best advice I can give to young women in Mali if I was there, giving them advice in this.
My goodness. How long did it take you to prepare for this podcast conversation? It's unbelievable how articulate you are, and you're just I just appreciate you for making the time, I do want you to still speak to these girls in Kenya and in Mali and in other parts of Africa. Speak to them about why you're so passionate about digital currency, NFTs, and maybe speak to them about the weekly session that we host and why such forums are important for understanding this new era of of being.
Absolutely. So, my first and foremost thing would be, definitely, just have discipline and educate yourself. But with this whole new era of cryptocurrency and NFTs, I don't want to get too political about this, Simon, but what's going on in the world now, with inflation rates increasing, I think it's really, really imperative for a lot of people to educate themselves on cryptocurrency and NFTs because it's with crypto, you're technically your own bank, but you have to do your due diligence. It's like basic economics, but I think anybody could learn this. Anybody. It can be challenging, especially if you don't have a financial background, if you don't really understand finance or you're not really good with money. That's okay. It's still early. Even everything is digital, everything is online, but that is the future. Even as an RPA developer, I don't want to go backwards, but the company from Cognizant, like consultants would say, in the next 10 to 15 years, RPA can eliminate thousands of jobs. And it can benefit these companies because they can save thousands to millions of dollars in not hiring a lot of people for labor. So I think with cryptocurrency and NFTs, NFTs for one, the non-fungible token, is just like digital ownership. You create something on the blockchain and then you have ownership on that. And then if you make a big sell, you're still gaining royalties. I don't have any NFTs. I don't own any, but I'm still in the process of learning, and I'm for that because I think it's a beautiful way to really like have control of your own money. You do your due diligence, you educate yourself, but it's really important because now that NFTs and cryptocurrency is really in demand, especially with NFTs now, a lot of cyber criminals are really, really online looking for people. And I think there's so many ways that they can try. And I will be honest, a lot of cyber criminals, they target women. And so because, they slide in your DM, they make sure they ask you questions, targeting your emotions. And then, they try to take from you. So I think educating them on the history of cryptocurrency, reading the white paper, understanding the purpose of why it was created, and then understanding the history of economics. After the 2008 crash, I was a young girl, I think still in high school. So I didn't really understand it. My parents were involved, but I didn't pay much attention to it. And then understanding how crypto was born a year later from that. And then everything changed. I think if they have that history lesson and then they keep educating themselves on this currency, it can make a big difference in their lives. I really stress the power of education, security, and their due diligence. Because when I found out about crypto, I was networking with a guy that I met on LinkedIn in a group call. And he was in crypto since 2013, and he was telling me about it since he met me. And then I was hesitant because I wasn't comfortable with economics. And I said, that sounds fishy, working for state government. So I didn't want to do it. But I kept educating myself and I kept doing my own due diligence. He was telling me a lot, but then I would go back and educate myself on this. So I think I will always stress this to anybody. Education and security first, because this one mistake can cost you a lot of money. And nobody, mistakes do happen, but the power of education and due diligence would really benefit a lot of people in this space, for sure. And I do believe, one last thing, Simon, I do believe, for Africa, this could be the power of having our own currency, even though it does take a lot of technology, but that's the power that crypto can do out there. It can just have our own currency instead of having something else that do not belong to Africa.
Yeah, you can only, with the energy challenges, there are solutions. There are solutions. In fact, through the conversations we've been having on Clubhouse, I was able to introduce Joseph Ndege, the elder who was there recently during our last conversation, with someone here in Seattle who has actually built a solar power station that can, mine cryptocurrency in a very incredible way. And then the solar panels he's using are made here in Seattle, and it's part of a research project between the University of Washington and a local solar manufacturing company. So, if you're interested in that, let me know. And if you happen to come to Seattle, let me know, and I can take you to do a site visit of this solar power station. I do want to welcome everyone who is joining us on YouTube. Thank you so much. Please share with us your thoughts in the comments. Share with us what you think about the conversation that we are having here with Aminata Danioko, and also your perspectives on today's proverb that says a person who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat. And also to our audience members on Clubhouse, thank you very much for your continued support. Remember to follow the African Father in America Club at the top of the room, and also nominate 3 to 5 people to join the club. And finally, ping in 3 to 5 people to join us and clip some of the nuggets that you're getting from this conversation. And in 6 minutes, I will be turning off hand raising. That's for Clubhouse. What that means is now is a good time for you to join the stage. And after I turn off hand raising, we will just focus on listening to those on stage. And after we listen to everyone on stage, Aminata is going to share, just a summary of what she heard, and also closing remarks, and also how you can stay connected with her and support the work that she's doing. So for now, Aminata, I just want to give you a chance to also speak to, something that you alluded to, how, women particularly are always targeted by cyber criminals. But also, if you look at African women in particular, in comparison to the African men that are in the tech space, there are very fewer women. And one of the things that I am personally passionate about is getting more women into the tech space, getting more women into leadership positions, because I'm a product of my mother. My mother fathered me. My mother was no joke. She was a powerhouse. And in fact, the Daily African Proverbs, this proverb is massively inspired by her. So speak to that. Speak to how have you dealt with all these challenges, and how can other women who are listening and watching our conversation now learn from your story?
Absolutely. So I think, women, I honestly think women, we are so powerful. We can do anything. Women carry the world. Women make very big decisions, and sometimes there's always a man's face to take. I'd say African women in particular, we are conditioned to not ever get into something that's outside of the norm. Because, it's normal for many men to get into the tech space. This is their field. They can articulate things very clearly, things like that. But for women, it can be a challenge because it's just something new, and they're not used to this. They're not used to, coding and all of those data and cybersecurity and IT, all those different things. But I think, if we just, because it can be hard. I trust me, I've seen it myself when a lot of, men would say, oh no, she can be a doctor or a lawyer, something outside of tech, when tech is really the future, honestly. But I think if we really have to learn, I would say this again, to get outside of our comfort zone. Because you see, there's a lot of women around the world that, they were able to accomplish a lot of big things without the help of anybody, because there's always people that say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, or you're a woman, like, what do you understand? Like, what do you get about that? I even had people like that in my life to really tell me that I can't do something. But I really thank God I never listened to that, because, I got really lucky because of my father. He always, for my dad, he had 4 girls and 1 boy. So he always pushed education onto us. He always pushed us to really, instead of listening to the TV or listening to the media, how about you educate yourself? You read books, you need to educate your mind. Like, you have to really teach yourself. You don't just take anyone's word for anything. So I think, like, for women, I really would stress that, no matter what anybody says to you, I know it could be hard, especially if it's coming from a loved one or your family. You really have to go for what you believe in, because sometimes it takes people a long time to find out their purpose or what their calling is. So if you know what you're good at, if you know what you are passionate about, you should go and just do it. I see it all the time when I'm networking with people on LinkedIn or sometimes Twitter, and these are women in Nigeria, and they're in tech, and they're a lot better than me in data science and coding and all that stuff. And they don't really have that male mindset of or I can't do this. He said I can't do this. They just keep going. And I notice with Nigerians, I have a couple of Nigerian friends, and they're women, and they're high achievers. Their parents support their dreams, and a lot of African countries are not like that, especially because we're so cultural and religious driven. So we don't really have that mindset of, okay, like, I can do this. It's always, okay, you finish school, get married. You finish school, like, look for a husband or take care of your parents. We always have to nurture, provide, and protect our loved ones, but we can never use our brain and our skills that we are passionate to do. I mean, I can handle, with meeting with you, Simon, right now, doing my job, working, and also, communicating, with my family, things like that. Women can multitask and do anything. I really believe, like, God is a woman, and if we put our minds into it, we can accomplish it, no matter what anyone says. Even if it's coming from a loved one, you just always have to work with what you believe in order for you to achieve that goal. And I'll close this with this comment. So I would say that sometimes, when you want to achieve something, or if you believe that you can work on something, sometimes it's good to not even share your good news with anybody. Because I notice sometimes, like, for me, I'll speak for myself, when I wanted to do something, or if I found like that passion in me, I would share it with my friends or anybody I was feel comfortable with, and then it would never work out. It would always fail. So I said, oh, you see, that's the power of keeping your mouth closed when you don't share good news with everybody, because outside thoughts could ruin a blessing in your life. And I just want to say that.
Yeah, thank you. You're very wise. You're very wise, and I'm so happy that I trusted my gut to reach out to you and ask you to do this interview with me. Really, and you have no idea how wonderful it's been talking to you for the last 30 minutes. I want you to grab a pen and paper, and get some of the nuggets that you're going to hear from our guests on stage. I'm turning off hand raising now. So, I'll just take a minute for those who want to come on stage. This is a good time, really. I'll just, invite a few people on stage, those who want to share their perspectives. I did, invite everybody on the Clubhouse room onto the stage. So if I didn't invite you, I don't know. I touched every profile in the Clubhouse room and made sure I invited everybody. Even though at 6:30 a.m. we normally turn off hand raising, especially with the Daily African Proverb, so that we can now focus on listening to the speakers on stage, and then we receive some, feedback and comments from the guest that we have. And today our special guest is Aminata Danioko, originally from Mali. And Aminata is now a data scientist, and is also an RPA developer. And for the first time, I learned what an RPA developer is. You said robotic programming automation?
Oh, robotic process automation.
Robotic process automation. Okay. I'll learn these languages one day,
Yeah.
Anyhow, so now we want to hear from Cornelia. Cornelia, first, thank you for all the amazing work you do for South Africa, for the diaspora, for your help with Africa Day last year. Share with us your perspectives on today's proverb and what you've heard so far during my conversation with Aminata.
Good afternoon, Simon. You know what? I am just enjoying being on YouTube. I got to know Aminata here on this amazing app. And as I'm speaking here on Clubhouse, I'm on another phone looking at this beautiful ray of sunshine in YouTube while she's sharing with us all these good nuggets, about, hey, guys, I love working and building with the team machines. And what Aminata has given to you today, those who don't know yet what to do, go into the tech space. And if you have listened very carefully, she has also shared that if you don't know about anything, you know, you have to learn, give yourself some time and educate yourself. And this is something that I do all the time. Sometimes they say, oh, why do you ask that? I thought you knew that. I said, you know what? No question is a silly question. So I just love sharing here on Clubhouse and seeing Amanata in YouTube as well. And this takes me to the Daily Proverb. The Daily Proverb says today, a person who has not secured a place on the floor should not ask, should not look for a mat. I look at this and I look at it as it's all about timing. You know, if you have not secured your space, you have to look, was it meant for me? And just move on. So I look at this proverb with timing. So Anata, Aminata, I just thank you so much for the good nuggets that you are sharing with all of us. And Simon, thank you again for the amazing work that you are also doing with this global app, and to all of us in the diaspora, and just a big fat thank you, and stay blessed. And all of you who are always regulars in this room, come in, and yeah, you learn quite a lot, like today with Aminata. Thank you, Aminata. Back to you, Simon.
Thank you so much, Cornelia. Where are you joining us today, by the way, Cornelia? I'm just grateful. I want to give everybody who is listening an idea where our audiences are,
Okay, I will do. Sorry, I didn't mention. Yes, I am a South African, born and bred in beautiful Cape Town, one of the most beautiful cities in South Africa. And I am currently living in Germany, very windy for the past few days. We do have a storm going through entire Germany at the moment. So I am very peaceful in your room today, listening to Aminata as she's sharing with us.
Wow, thank you, Cornelia. And for those who don't know Cornelia, she hosts really, really educational rooms here on Clubhouse. And also, if you're new to Clubhouse, she's the person who will actually show you the ropes. I've learned a lot about Clubhouse through her, and just thank you for being here. Now, I want to welcome Crescent. Crescent, thank you for making the time, and for joining us today. Share with us, your perspectives on, everything you've had Aminata and I talk about today, and also, your perspectives on this Nigerian proverb that says, a man who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat.
I absolutely adore this room this morning. Thanks, Cornelia, for bringing me in. And I could appreciate the speaker talking about places for women. I am a global pioneer. I am the first to establish a gold seal of quality on 24 karat gold consumable products. So there's not a lot of people to show me how I'm supposed to move because I'm first. So I can definitely appreciate the proverb this morning and the wonderful shares. So thank you for just letting me share space, take in all of the good energy, and share with you this morning. And I'm from Northern California in the Redwood Forest.
Wow, thank you again for taking the time to join us. And thank you, Cornelia, for inviting Crescent for today's conversation. Hey, Fred, I think I saw you on YouTube as well. Thank you for your continued support. And also Fred donated a computer to One Vibe. I run a non-profit organization that provides an education, music, and art program in Kenya. And one of the things we do there is that we have, a creative hub where people want to learn things like what Aminata do, but from a basic perspective. People want to learn dance, film production, are going to be using Fred's computer very soon. I received it yesterday, Fred, so thank you. But share with us your thoughts on today's conversation, and also share with us your thoughts on this proverb from Nigeria. But make sure you share where you're joining us from as well. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Good morning. Glad to be on the stage today. I'm glad you got the computer. You should be getting another package today as well. I'm calling from Ohio, and when I saw this proverb, it struck an old memory. When I was in kindergarten, first grade, the kids would come into the room, and we always had nap time, and we would be sitting on the floor. And when we knew it was nap time, the teacher would go get these mats, and we would all have our own individual mat, and we would just scroll out on the mat and go to sleep, wake up, and put it back up. Now, when I see this floor aspect, that's the foundation of how we live and how we think. Because if I look at a house, that's our sacred place. The floor is the foundation of how we stand, things we take a stand on, and that mat is a place of comfort, a place of protection. So if you don't have a floor, you can't look for protection if you don't take a stand on a certain thing until you get your house settled. That's how I see that. I wanted to talk about the technology aspect Manada was speaking on. I teach digital content training and collegiate level. There were many times where a lot of the women in the class would say, "We have no voice, we have no place, we have no power in digital technology." And I said, "Well, I know that's what you've been told. I know that's what you believe, but that's not the case." So, well, I teach WordPress, website design, and I tell them that the labor of a thing determines the spirit of a thing, that power of that thing. And I question them and I ask them, "Do you know who named WordPress?" That name itself is a powerful aspect. WordPress is one of the top CMS platforms, content management platforms in the world. Well, if you go back and do your research, a woman named it. She put that power on it. Do your research, know your place, know your history, claim your voice, claim your power, and take a better stand. Because you've always been there. You just need to find out who is who, what is what, claim it, put your name on it, and keep it moving. And my goal in with communication, digital communication training, is to simplify everything because dealing with some people of color, there was a block of fear of technology. There's a block and a fear of learning. So I take where they're standing, i.e., the floor they're living on, and give them a digital mat of comfort and security to be able to learn this technology. Because if we don't do that, we can't embrace the knowledge of the lessons of crypto and NFTs and all that until we get comfortable in that space, i.e., establish the floor that we need to take a stand on and find that place of comfort in learning it. I yield the mic.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fred. I see Aminata just nodding her head. So I can't wait to hear from you once we hear from all our guests on stage. But I quickly, Fred, just want to introduce you to Steven, who is at the bottom in the listening chamber on Clubhouse. Steven is also the person that runs our education, music, and art program in Kenya. So luckily, I was speaking about it, and he's here with us. So I would urge everyone in the room to follow him. If you want to learn more about the work that we do in Kenya, he's the person who is leading our team over there. And now I want to continue on with Kay. Kay, thank you again for your continued support. Share with us where you're joining us from, your perspectives on today's proverb from Nigeria, and comments on my conversation with the incredible Aminata Danioko.
Hi, Simon. Thank you for this platform. Hi, Aminata. And I too, when I'm able to watch the YouTube so I can see the person and also, be on Clubhouse, and she's absolutely gorgeous. And I've I've enjoyed her talk. It was hard for me to think of the proverb and listen because all this information was so new to me. But I did learn, um, and I appreciate the information that she's giving and the work that she's done. The one thing, because I'm one of those people who have been resisting technology, and I didn't want to go to the grocery store and have some machine check me out. I wanted to go in line because in the past I would go in line. I knew whose children were starting school, um, whose with son starting a paper route, who had a hard night. We chatted. It was a social process for me. And so I didn't want to give that up. And then I thought, well, you can still learn how to do this. And then when it's convenient, because at one time I did finally uh, go through it, even though my preference is Instacart. But if I'm going to the grocery store, I did the process. I learned it. I said, that was much quicker. It really was. And it was efficient and you can get on your way. And I decided that maybe sometimes I'll use it and sometimes not. One of the things that we do now is that we get rid of one thing and don't use another. But sometimes it's both things. And I remember having a negative experience when I went to the bank and the teller wanted to question me on why I had such a big check to put in. And that's when I decided, well, I'm glad for the machine. The machine's not going to ask me. I can just put it in there. But I don't like to make decisions based on negative experiences. And so one of the things that I've found is that it's important to fortify your spirit. And so women are often criticized for being emotional. And we and so in our society, when you get criticized, you try to get rid of. I'm suggesting that you embrace your emotions, but manage them. They do not run your life. It's spirit, mind, and body. So I got myself in trouble by not following this proverb. A person who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat. I was doing a training with a big time uh, coach or whatever, and I criticized him. I guess it was seen as criticized. He had a saying where he would have the room, usually it was viral this time, but he would have people in a physical space say to each other, I own you. And I was like, I don't want anybody to say that to me. And I am not saying that to anybody else. Uh, I had a problem. And then there was another issue where he was giving a example where a woman had a nail in her head. And this guy was talking to her and he was trying to tell her about the nail in her head. And it was amusing because she was like talking all around things and not hearing about the nail. And I suggested to the coach that the nail in the head was man. Well, that wasn't liked anyhow. So I got booted out of the organization and whatever. So I just won't put my mat there. But it's because I felt like what I had come with in terms of who I am spiritually is not connecting. Usually, when he would have even said those things, I would have stopped listening to him. But I have found that if being consistent, that I can learn from anybody, then I can learn from even people who I might have disagreed with them in different areas. So that's why I had stayed. But uh, as far what I saw initially in this proverb was something I had said earlier in the week, is not to give advice before you have used it. And that's what I saw. Thank you so much for introducing Amita. Amin, Amin. Oh my goodness, thought I would have her name right now. Aminata?
Yes, you got it. You got
Ah,
it.
thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah,
Y'all have a good
she's having a good laugh, you know. And hey, Kay, you're always wonderful, and I truly always appreciate your presence. Thank you again. And now we want to move on to Paris. Paris, thank you for joining us today. Share with us where you're joining us from, what today's proverb means to you. The proverb says, "A person who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat." And also, if you have any comments about our current conversation with Aminata, that's also welcome. Thank you. Okay, Paris, in case you need help with unmuting, it's at the bottom left corner. So I'll just give you another few seconds here.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Simon. I just wanted to say, first, the proverb, I shared it. I'm a part of a family chat within my family, and my family is all over the world now, in Kenya, in Ghana, and around the United States. I asked them what it meant, and to a person, my family members, in giving me feedback, um, talked about the need to invest in whatever that particular walk of life or that particular endeavor is. And we're really talking about the need for self investment. And I heard that in different ways from each of the people on the stage who spoke today. I own a small software business in Washington, D.C., and I have customers all over the country. And what I'm finding is with each one of my customers, I'm learning different aspects of my own offering, of the benefits to this particular customer in this particular area, which means even after establishing my place on the proverbial mat, my business, I'm still in a position where I need to invest in myself and connect very clearly and add value to others. People have a natural affinity to other people and they want to add value. And as a member of the diaspora, um, who's very much an African American who loves everything I've learned through my travels to the continent, I take a proverb like this as, you know, as ancient wisdom I can provide to other people and my employees. I look for that attitude when I'm hiring a person. I explain to my children and my sons that when I put an ad out for a job, that I get resumes and people who are either in the United States or from all over the world that can fit the bill, and their national background, their religious background, are in those moments are not as important to me as have they made a personal commitment to learning something that my customers or I will see as valuable? And will they be a receiver of knowledge I have and use it effectively in building the overall capacity of my company? So there's two things I'd like to say before landing my discussion. As a small business person, I've never stopped learning. From 1995 to this day, my business has had four distinct product offerings that met and matched the times, but they all required a basic area of expertise and they all required me to commit. You asked, as I was joining, you were asking about wisdom that you might have, that your speaker might have taken from childhood or might have learned a long time ago. I'll end with the story. In sixth grade, my father, I asked the tallest, most popular kid in the sixth grade class play trumpet, and all the girls seemed to like him. So when my father asked, did I want to play an instrument? I said trumpet without much thought. A little pain in my lips And the first few weeks, my father said, look, I need you to commit to one thing. I've purchased the trumpet. I need you to spend 30 minutes every day on that horn. After that, you can do what you like. 30 minutes every day. And in a short period of time, you will not only be better than most people, but you'll be somewhat of an expert at your level if you maintain that commitment. Don't spend too much time. Don't tire yourself out. Make it a part of your normal everyday regimen. After engineering school at Howard University, I applied that in order to learn the fledgling PC industry that was taking off with early Microsoft operating systems. After databases and networks took off, I used that same concept to learn about that. I hear discussions now about AI and RPA and data scientists. I've had to make a serious commitment in order to expand and grow my business, learning those things by spending a concerted, serious amount of time every day and earning my place on the mat. I've needed it to maintain my business. I've needed it to grow and learn. Today, I love all kinds of music, and it has a lot to do with my father asking me to make that commitment every day, and it taught me the life learned lesson. Last thing I'll say, there's a book written that I hope you'll all read. It's not a new book. It's written by the former Department of Labor head, Robert Reich. It's called The Work of Nations. And when you read it, he talks heavily about people resources being the key and important component in advancing any group of people, any nation. A very important part of that is developing skills, thinking, understanding of the world that allows you to be valuable as things change so quickly. It's an uncomfortable thing to understand. My father, who gave me that advice, might have been uncomfortable with it, having worked in a factory and those types of things. But it's the kind of thing, if you're going to use your wits in your head and travel around the world and be able to go in and out of different economies, that we're really going to need to learn to earn our mat by teaching ourselves, by learning, and being in a constant state of learning and growth in order to be valuable to those that we do business with in that context. And I'll land on that statement. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pari, for being here with us. We'll quickly move on to Brother. Brother, quickly share with us your perspectives, where you're joining us from, and any comments on today's conversation with Aminata. Thank you. Brother, this is Simon.
Brother, Simon, let somebody else go. I'm in a bad area.
Yes, that's a good idea. Thank you. We'll come back to you in a second. Ella, how are you? As I was interviewing Aminata, I actually thought about you because you have a lot in common. So share with us your perspectives, where you're joining us from, and also any comments on today's conversation. Particularly your perspectives on the proverb would be really appreciated as well. Thank you.
Really appreciate that, Simon. And as always, thank you for this platform and thank you for these amazing guests. Aminata, if you can hear me. I'm not on YouTube, so I can't see the video right now. But you are literally living my dream job. As a little girl, I actually really, really wanted to work with robots. Like I remember watching on cartoons and television, and I to this day, I still play with robots. I have the Vector, which is it's like a little AI robot. You can use it as a teaching tool to teach children. It works on Python. We love it. We have 3 of them here from the previous generations, and we've modified them and have them do little things. But I would love to connect with you just on a professional basis. I am a data scientist as well. I work in cyber, interestingly, so not in robotics, but not in a technical capacity. I heard your frustration in talking about clearly what it took to become, the person that you are and the profession. And it broke my heart because I recognize it, right? And I know there's a lot of people rooting for us, but I remember for me in particular, even though I wanted to go into this field, there were a lot of closed doors for me. I didn't understand. I'm a first generation American. I'm in New Jersey now. At the time I was living in New York, first generation American, and wanted to go to school for this. And I got into really good colleges. I got into Rutgers, NYU, a few others, and I was not able to get into the engineering programs because the engineering programs are very, very heavily guarded, right? You kind of had to have planned early on in high school to have taken the courses and prerequisites. It's a little bit better now. It's not as good as it needs to be, but it created some barriers. So I had to kind of fight to get to where I'm at now, and it was a meandering road, but here we are. Um, what I did want to say is it does get better. And there are companies out there, and there are definitely people out there who are champions for women in tech that are making it easy. My company in particular, Offensive Security, is a global leader in cybersecurity. The founders of the company were a husband and wife team, which created a culture that was always welcoming to women. Our current CEO is a woman. Our company is probably one of the few companies in the cybersecurity space that's just a little under 40% right now, women in terms of work across the board. We're 100% remote. Last I checked, we were in 38 countries. And like I said, with all of that, still being able to hire brilliant, brilliant, brilliant engineers who are women from all over the world. Speaking to one other thing, I wanted to speak to the challenges that Paris was speaking to in terms of tech and development. My job at Offensive Security, like I said, is not technical. It's a little unusual in that I lead strategy. And that's like a vague term unless you're inside corporate. But what it means is if the company makes a decision in terms of a market or a type of way to break into that market, it's my job to figure it out. And here in the US, I've spent the past 2 years or so helping build a strategy to get us into university and federal. And what that's meant was working at the very top and watching how this works. So if we're serious about getting women involved and women involved in Africa, yes, it is a massive investment. And it does start at the very highest parts of the state level. Here in the United States, cybersecurity is I don't want to hijack the conversation, but I'll make it quick. Cybersecurity is definitely something that's very hard to recruit for because, like data science and a lot of the other new emerging tech fields, it's multidisciplinary, meaning you need to have coding plus, right? It's usually coding plus networking or coding plus something else, but you need to kind of be able to build up your skill set. And in cybersecurity in particular, it's coding and behavior and there's a lot of other subset skills that go with it, networking and so on. And it's very hard to train people up. What the government has found is preparing people has to start at the K to 12 level, continue into the high school level. I accurately identify them in the high school level and funnel them into collegiate or higher level programs or training programs that can prepare the cyber workforce. There's a global gap. And this is true for any tech field, really. The gap is major. The universities kind of helped create this gap because of the gatekeeping, but it's not completely their fault because the math and coding skills that are needed to succeed in these fields usually start at an early age. So children who grow up in homes with engineers and coding and whatever, they'll always have a leg up. I'd say to parents all the time, I'm a mother myself, if you don't know, find programs, like, encourage your kids to do more than whatever the school is teaching them. The language of the future is code. And whether, it doesn't really matter the language or how they use it, even if they just want to, play with things like Roblox and encourage them to build games on those platforms, whatever it is, to just get them involved. Because in the future, you will have people who understand how the technology works and a very large majority that does not. And it will create even further divides, right, if we don't address this now. And especially as people who represent the larger part of the digital divide, right? So yeah, I know I said a lot. I'll leave it there.
Yes, you are allowed to say a lot, Ella. Thank you, so much for being here. And now we want to go to Jakumi, who is another amazing leader, on and off of this platform. I see that brother is back. So Jakumi, just forgive me. Let's go back to brother and hear him out and then come back to you. Brother, how are you? Where are you joining us from? And what are your thoughts on today's proverb?
Peace and love, family. This brother Earth again. I'm from in the North Carolina territory, and what I'll say about the conversation as far as the tech, it's kind of sounding an alarm for myself because a lot of things with technology, to be all the way honest with you, I kind of been, nonchalant about. But understanding, having a full understanding that I got to continue to evolve with the times. If you don't evolve with the times, usually you become extinct. And so that's very important, and I appreciate all the information that's been brought forth on that. And I just not really realized why I like this room so much, because growing up, I was raised around a lot of elders, and a lot of things they used to say to me, at the time it didn't make sense or what have you. But, the more I reflect back on the Proverbs you bring forth, it helps give me more insight, or it ties right in. And two, the things that the elders used to say to me, one thing they used to say is, first, don't count your chickens before they hatch. And another one they used to say is, don't put the cart before the horse. And in both of those proverbs, where I'm just say looking at that and putting them all together, it's telling me myself the importance of prioritizing. Make sure you have your steps in order to go where you need to go. And I'm gonna park my plane right there. Gratitude and peace and love, family.
Thank you, Brother Earth, for your amazing perspectives as well. And now we are at Jakumi. Jakumi, how are you? Where are you joining us from? And what are your perspectives on today's proverb and just conversation we are having with Aminata?
Yeah, so, again, it's Jakumi. I am in Jacksonville, Florida. And, when I look at this proverb, right, a person has not secured a place on the floor, should not look for a mat. To me, what I think about when I hear this is you have to make a decision about where you want to be, right? When you decide that you want to be there, you will get there and you'll get everything that, you that's required. So you have to think about, when you make that decision, you're going to become the person in whatever that space is. And since, the speaker has been talking about, women and tech and so on and so forth. So if you're a woman and you decide, hey, this space is where I belong, I'm going to make that decision. So I'm going to be that person. So once you decide that you're going to be that person, you're going to do the things that a person in that position would do. And once you do that, you're going to have the things that a person in that position are going to have, like the mat. So that's what I get from this proverb. So we are human beings, right? The emphasis on being, we have to decide who we be, right? And then we have to do what it is that a person that's going to be that does. And then we will have the things that person that does that thing have. So I'll leave it at that. Land my plane. I hope y'all got some value out of that, and I get a lot of value out of the proverbs of this room. So peace, family.
Thank you so much. Jakumi is another amazing leader to follow on this platform, especially if you want to learn about crypto and investing in general. So he's an amazing leader. Check him out. Now we are at Sensas, who is also another wonderful leader, and Sensor leads a lot of the programming for the Africa Day Club. Sensas, how are you? Where are you joining us from? And what are your perspectives on today's proverb and conversation with Aminata?
Hi, Simon, and hi, Aminata. I've always loved the name Aminata. And with you coming from Mali and all of that region, I think we have some genealogy that stretches that way from South Sudan. So it's like family. Now, first, about what you were talking about, Aminata, what you're doing is really amazing. I am not in that part of the tech. I am more in GIS, mapping, analysis data. So it's a bit different. But I know that it requires having a mind, a brain that's constantly working. Because when you deal with things to do with tech, I think it's almost as if your brain never fully sleeps. Even though you would say, I am not working now, it never actually sleeps. Okay, that's a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So it's like another world altogether here.
It's all good. It's wonderful. Keep going.
So when I think of what you do, I can imagine the amount of energy it requires on your brain. Because I know sometimes I could be asleep and my brain is mapping out the structure. It's like I have a visual image of what files I need to connect and what code I need and what all of these things I need to do for the program to run the way I want, or for me to get the results I need. What are the inputs? Um, so I think it's amazing. It's great work that you do. I partly work in a nonprofit and it's part of a college. We have a small project that we started on digital literacy. And our aim is to help people know how to just use their digital skills, know how to use computers. And currently, most of the people we do this with are people who are immigrants and newcomers or refugees who are also learning English language. So they're in the English language class. And we're trying to do this in a way that we can also do it multilingual. So that, for instance, those from Swahili regions can have someone who speaks Swahili try and explain the processes to them. The reason is because we're leaving a lot of people behind. And the only way we can keep them abreast, or at least give them the ability to manage their life, is by including them in this program. So thank you. I have a 4-year-old who is busy constantly trying to do things with computers. And the 2-year-old just put a coin into the dishwasher because he thinks it's going to pop out somewhere. And he's not seeing the coin. So I don't even know how I'm going to get that coin out of the dishwasher. It's the front part of the dishwasher, the air ducts in front. So I might have to open it apart. But that's the beauty of kids trying to get into all of that tech field where they're testing and trying to see what results come out of their own experiments. Regarding the proverb, to connect it to everything that you've said, uh, it's one of the things where even if you try and claim something, if you haven't built your mindset, you haven't reorganized your mindset, you will never be comfortable in that table, in that mat. Even if you bring that mat, you will never have a space that fits the mat because you are not well placed to understand how to survive, how to live and thrive in that space. So that's my input to this, and it's really great listening to all of you, and those of you who are in tech, keep doing your work. This is Census. I'm complete.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sensors. Thank you for letting us enjoy the sounds of those wonderful future tech giants, and now we want to move on to Goddess. Goddess, thank you for being here. Share with us where you're joining us from and your perspectives on today's proverb from Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Simon. Thank you for holding this space. I totally missed. Oh, yes.
Okay, Goddess, you might have received a phone call. We just lost you for a second there. If you can, please come back. At the moment, we can't hear you.
Sometimes she gets booted out and then it lets her right back in.
Girl, I was just going to say it booted me out again.
We know each other real well, okay?
Simon, we're going to have to talk about me getting booted out on the back end.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
We're going to, the life of a revolutionary up here in Minnesota, y'all. I'm joining from cold Minnesota. And I agree with so many different things that was said in the room. I just want to thank Fred for everything that he said about comfort and security. I'm not even going to lie. I had got into stocks like in 2018, and just because I didn't know, I was uncomfortable, right? And I didn't educate myself how I should have, and now crypto is a thing, and wanting to be more well versed in that, and and not having the education in the background, and feeling kind of like a outcast, an outsider. So being on this call this morning really gave me that extra push that I needed to be a part of something that I believe that I can grow in and I can prosper in. When it comes to the proverb, a person who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat, I think is perfect to talk about the cryptocurrency and the NFTs. I was actually looking for different platforms to learn about crypto and to buy and trade crypto. And I made a mistake, and I was on a platform that did NFTs. And all I remember thinking is, what the hell is this? I don't know what an NFT is. I did the wrong thing. And now that's a conversation now. So it's like, okay, I already have an account somewhere that I can, start funneling through and learning more about that. So that makes me feel good. Um, when I think about this African proverb, I think about the crypto. I think about organizing, just regular community organizing. I think about even dating somebody new. In order to be successful with any of these things, we have to do our homework before we get in. We have to listen and we have to study. Thank you again. I yield the mic.
Thank you so much, Goddess. And I'm sorry about the technical glitch that, keeps kicking you in and out. Does that happen only in this room or in other rooms too? Can you just speak to that? Because I just want to make sure you don't have, those types of problems anymore if I
It
have the
happens
power.
in other rooms as well, Simon.
Yes, I agree. I agree. It's happening in other rooms too. It just happens to me more in this room because I am loyal to this room.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know what I can do to change, to make it just smooth, but just know that if there's anything I can do, let me know. I just want to, thank you all for being here with us. In a moment, we'll be hearing from my special guest who has been taking notes, since we began hearing from all the speakers on stage. And it's nice to see you, Antonio. Thank you for all the support that, you gave me at the beginning of my time here on Clubhouse. Now we are at Thandisizwe. Thandisizwe, how are you? Where are you joining us from? And what are your thoughts on today's proverb?
Grand Rising, I am blessed joining you all from Minneapolis, Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, or as a friend of mine likes to say, 10,000 fakes. And I actually think that was a great, that land of 10,000 fakes actually makes me think about the proverb a little bit. A person who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat. I had to think about it for a sec, but when I thought about it, um, it made me think about it from an economic standpoint. I thought about keeping up with the Joneses. We often think that I think we often want things we can't have yet. Maybe they're not meant for us, things that we can't afford. And I think the Joneses are often Europeans. People of African descent are always trying to prove something because we have been told that we are not good enough. So the mats we are often looking for are the luxury apartments, the cars with the large car notes, the Louis bags, the Balenciagas, which we may not be able to afford. And then I also thought about Shamari had brought this up, and then another brother said it too, thinking about putting the cart before the horse. I think we do this a lot when we share our dreams with others, which is something that some of you all were talking about. We want to brag and boast, and we want to do those things before the work is really done. So I think, and I try to do this myself too. I try to be careful. We must be careful with that, and it's important for us to ask ourselves, why are we sharing our dreams? Why are we sharing our realities and our thoughts with others sometimes? I always think about why I'm sharing something. I try to before I speak it out loud because I think sometimes our motives are connected to our insecurities, which goes back to wanting a mat that we can't afford. And we do this a lot on social media. Um, Social media has us not only looking for the mat, but showing off the mat. And it's like, okay, honey, the mat will come once the work is done. Little quote that I just came up with. Thank y'all.
I love it. I agree. The mat will come once the work is done, and there's no better way for us to transition into hearing from Aminata. You know, what did you pick up from all our speakers on stage? And then share with us your closing remarks in just a moment. But before you do that, I want to invite you all to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's one way to support the work that I do every day with the Daily African Proverbs. The link to my YouTube channel is at the very top of the room. And my goal by the end of this month is to get to 2,000 subscribers. So if you can share this video with your other community members and ask them to subscribe, I would really, really appreciate that. And now I just want to warn you all, I have my 2-year-old daughter under this table with me right now, and so she just wants to be a part of this conversation. And towards the end of every episode, she shows up for some reason. But now, Aminata, share with us, your perspectives. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Simon. So I really love what everyone was able to share about their perspectives on the proverb and the things that I've shared about, my profession, crypto, NFTs, and everything. So there's 3 things that I would like to close out with that really stuck out to me. And the first one was when someone shared about never stop learning. I think that is the best piece that you can never neglect in your life. Because you can stop learning and educating yourself, but guess what? Life is never going to stop teaching you anything. You're still going to get challenges and you're still going to get tested out on many things. And the second thing that I would like to share was the lady who talked about, when she walked into a bank and they said, I think it was the energy she picked up on because, once again, a woman's intuition never lies. Anyone, I think in any human being, your intuition, it never fails you. If it's telling you something is not right, don't ever ignore it. You take it and you walk away. Like I said, it took me years to really, realize that. And it's say, oh, if it doesn't sit well with me, I don't even argue. I don't debate it. I walk away quietly. And this is why I love decentralized finance. And that ties into cryptocurrency. Because guess what? Well, just to make things clear, because decentralized finance is just pieces of code and it runs and acts like a bank and is open to anyone. You understand? So perfect example is when you see the things that's going on in Canada with the truckers. You see how the GoFundMe site was banned. I think they locked it down. Something happened. And then people started to donate in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is open 24/7. No one can control it. It's not enforced by any government. But now all of these politicians are putting regulations onto it because they realized, I think Canadians know now, hey, your money's in a bank, but it technically is not yours. Yes, the bank is liable to give you the money when you need it, but when you give it to a bank, it's theirs and they can do whatever they want with it. They can lend it out and do whatever they want. So this is why I love cryptocurrency, because it is yours. You are your own bank, and nobody's going to question you when you want to buy any type of crypto on any exchange. And the last thing I would like to share was when there was another girl who talked about she's a data scientist. I mean, her profession is very outstanding. She's a lot better than me because I worked mostly in the state and federal government in my career, and a nonprofit and other consulting and all those things like that. But I would love to connect with anybody. I would prefer LinkedIn. I'm very, very, very active on Twitter because obviously cryptocurrency and NFTs, decentralized finance, everything about being, just being being in the crypto space is in Twitter. So I'm very, very heavily on Twitter and LinkedIn right now. So I'm open to connecting with anyone, but I just really hope people took away and really, put in their mindset that you can really do anything. And sometimes when you don't share too much with people, it's kind of a blessing because outside thoughts can ruin a great blessing in your life. And I just wanted to share that, Simon. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aminata. I have company, as I was saying earlier. But listen, Aminata, I've really, really been, educated since we started talking today. I've really been blessed by the contributions that you shared with us. And I'll definitely connect you and Ella. Ella and I are talking about some amazing things that you could definitely be involved with. And to all our audience members, nyamaza kidogo, all our audience members, on YouTube, on Clubhouse, thank you so much. And I want you to know that next week, the entire week, Monday to Friday, I'm not going to be present on YouTube and on Clubhouse. I'm taking time off to prepare the promotion for my book, Rooted in Love. I have a copy here with me already. But if you want the pre-sale link, go to my link tree on Instagram or on YouTube, and you'll be able to grab yourself a copy. It's out on March 7th, so I'm just doing the groundwork now. And we're also launching a blog. It's called Raise Your Consciousness blog on my website as well. You can get to it through my link tree as well. So, I'm also just taking time off to just recalibrate, because doing this 5 days a week since January last year is no joke. So, I just thank you all so much for the love and support. Aminata, do you have any closing comments before we say bye-bye?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, Simon, definitely. Self-care, that always should be the priority. I understand what you're doing is good, but that should be very important. And I think my closing remarks would be, to never stop learning. You constantly have to educate yourself and be passionate about what you want to achieve in your life. We all have one life to live, and we're going to deal with some challenges along the way. Nothing in life is easy. That's why life is always going to give you challenges. That's why you should never stop learning. You always have to educate yourself and just be ready to deal with that. So I just wanted to close out with this. And Simon, I want to thank you for having me here. This was really fun being on the other side of the table in the proverb space. So I just want to, thank you, and thank everybody for coming into the room to listen to me as I share my thoughts on this. So thank you so much for everything.
Hey, Aminat, I'll definitely be having you back here. And as you were speaking, particularly about, bringing on more young African women into the tech space, a lot of ideas were coming through in my mind, similar to the work that Fred and I are now doing of getting hardware to Kenya. I want to create a virtual space where we can bring women in the continent who are trying to get into the tech space but have not really found mentors and people they can talk to. So I would love to talk to you and Ella about that. But besides that, I want to encourage everyone on Clubhouse. Please remember to follow the African Father in America Club. Nominate 3 to 5 people to the club. And also remember, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, leave your comment, and share this video with your community. Thank you so much. Aminata, take good care of yourself. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle,